Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. Today we are going to be expanding the wood yard, and no, we're not adding any new pieces of equipment. We're just going to be spreading out the equipment that we have. When we first drew up the plans for how we wanted to lay our wood yard out, the three main things we were keeping in mind was raw material, production, and finished product. And the layout we came out with was actually a solid plan. It was just the execution that needs a little tweaking. Let me show you what I mean. So in our wood yard, we have three different pieces of equipment that all have a different process. The first one is the sawmill, the second one is the Yappa firewood processor, and then on the other side of that is our Easton-made log splitter. Here is our raw material for the sawmill. Obviously the sawmill itself is the production, and then on the other side is where we are stacking and stickering our finished lumber. And one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning is you also have to consider waste. So whenever we're milling lumber, we're pulling our finished lumber off to the side. I usually park the tractor with the pallet forks on the other side there and throw all of my slab wood onto the forks of the tractor. And then as you can see, when we start piling up finished lumber here, it makes getting in and out of the other side with the tractor kind of tight. And I can't just put it on this side because I usually have the excavator on this side loading the raw material. And so what's happening is our finished product area from the sawmill is starting to crowd our production area for the firewood processor. Now this is a PTO powered firewood processor, so I have to leave room to park the tractor in and hook up the PTO to the tractor to run the processor. And then as we move further down, our Easton-made log splitter is actually not here right now. We've got a future video coming out on where that is currently. But you can see we've got all of our firewood rounds that are ready to go through the splitter set up there. So the axis was sitting right about there. And what's kind of happening is our logs that we're feeding through the processor are starting to crowd there, and then getting the excavator in and out of here to load the live deck on the processor. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the plan we had on paper was in fact a good plan. We just need a little bit of extra room to account for the pieces of equipment required to move the raw material, finished product, and waste product. So I think what we're gonna do is just stick with that plan and just space everything out. So the Easton-made axis is gonna get moved down along with all the firewood rounds that need split. The Yappa firewood processor is gonna move down probably to about here, which is going to open up more room in the drying yard for the sawmill. And another thing that's going to accomplish is when our log trucks come in down this road here, they can just park right where the excavator is, drop all of the logs onto the log pile. And if we move the Yappa a little bit further down, we'll be able to sit here with the excavator, cut our log truck firewood poles down to length because they're 25 foot now, which is too long for the log deck on the Yappa. So we'll cut them down to 12 and a half, 15 foot, and then we can just spin them right across the road over to where they need to go for the firewood processor. All right, so the first thing I want to do is set where all of our raw material for the Yappa is going to go, because I think we're going to base everything else off of that, where we're going to be swinging those logs across the road. Figure we're reaching into the pile right here. We're going to grab the logs and swing them over to the firewood processor and set them right about there. So now that's going to help us determine how much space we need to pull all of those firewood rounds for the Easton-made axis and pull them down further that way. Now that we have raw material for the firewood processor set, we can go ahead and move all of our firewood rounds for the axis whenever we get it back. And to do that, I'm going to throw on my 36-inch bucket so I can grab logs or grab more of them in one pool. I know I've said it a bunch of times, but don't ever get an excavator without a hydraulic quick connect. That is so nice to be able to change buckets from inside the cab. Alright, so this log here needs cut up yet, so we're going to move this one out of the way. start moving the equipment, might as well clean up all the bark and chafe and all that stuff. And I wanted to show you guys a little trick that I actually learned from neighbor Doug. So you take a log, and you kind of just use it as a broom. The trick is to grab it right in the middle and keep a good grip on it, so it doesn't slide out from you and you don't end up scalping the ground like that. Works really good for smoothing ground too. I mean, loose ground, you're not going to be digging in or biting or anything like that. You're just going to be doing surface work. But if you've got some topsoil or some loose ground, you can definitely smooth it out and flatten a lot at one time this way. Or you can do like we're doing and use it to clean up a whole bunch of bark and wood chips and that kind of stuff. Now that is a good way to clean up some firewood scraps. Let's go ahead and start moving the equipment. That's quite a bit further than we were before.
You were about 2 feet before, now you're at 4 feet.
Which is, I wanted to go a little bit further, but I still need to make sure that the hydraulic hoses will reach.
You know what I would do? Is when you pick it up, rotate your house and pivot your boom.
Yeah.
Instead of tracking your machine side to side.
Yeah. 6 inches too short.
Right, oh, right back, yeah, oh, right there, perfect.
Good.
Yep.
All right, so we got the wood yard cleaned up and spaced out a little bit better now. You can see we got plenty of room to work here. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start cutting logs and putting them over here, cutting them down to size, ready to go on the live deck for the Yappa. But you can see how much extra room we bought to stack lumber from the sawmill. So before, you know, we were all the way up where this pile of sawdust is, not a whole lot of room to play over there. And now we've got all this extra space here. Obviously, I still need to get this all cleaned up. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start cutting some logs now. Well guys, I think this is the best the wood yard has ever looked. I can't wait to start working down here and see how this is going to improve workflow. One thing I do want to do, and I've been planning on doing for a while now, is putting a road in down through here because right now it's all muddy. And I do want to put gravel in across this whole area here to get us up out of the mud. As you can see, it's rained since we finished this video. But I don't want to do that until we get all the kinks worked out and finalize where all the equipment is going to go. If we had stoned this before we moved all the equipment and then we decided to move it, that would have just been a waste of stone. And that's the thing about making plans, is we constantly have to be reevaluating them, modifying and adjusting. And I heard a quote the other day: success in life is not how well you execute plan A, but how well you cope with plan B. So I think that's a good way to wrap up this video. I want to give a big thank you to neighbor Doug for coming over and giving us a hand today. I can't express in words how incredibly lucky we are to have a neighbor who, one, enjoys doing all this stuff, running excavators, running chainsaws, but is also truly skilled at it. I mean, if you look at that footage of when we were piling up all that debris in the bucket of the excavator, he just has such a knack for interpreting and intuitively knowing what I'm going to be doing with the loader and the bucket on the tractor, and just able to match my movements of the tractor. And it made loading up that pile of debris really easy and getting it out of here and cleaned up in the wood yard. So once again, thanks for neighbor Doug. If you want to help me in thanking neighbor Doug for being in our videos, go over to his YouTube channel, One Eye Customs, watch a video or two. If you like what you see, give him a subscribe. If you guys enjoyed this one, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.